It was a calm and peaceful morning in the country of Newdan. Imogen was happily shunting trucks around the Goldshine shunting yard when... Oh my golly, please not now. Good morning, Goldshine! Isn't my paint the most splendid sight of all? Imogen, where are my coaches? As soon as I say, good morning, Goldshine, you're supposed to stop what you're doing and bring me my coaches. You're not the boss of me, Bryan. Well, I'm the bigger engine, so I have the upper hand. So would you please stop what you're doing and bring me my coaches? Fine, Mr. Big Guy. Thank you. Maybe for once I can finish my passenger run fresh and early. Why would you want to be early? It's 6:15 now, and Morris won't be at Religion Station until 8 o'clock, and yet you're supposed to be there at 8:15. Well, as long as my paintwork is in excellent condition, I always like to be as early as can be. Oh, and one more thing before I go. When it comes to my paintwork, I know for a fact that nothing would ever dare to mess it up. Now, good day, little Imogen. Careful, Bryan. You're predicting a curse. Imogen ignored Bryan's words and went straight back to work. Meanwhile, at the terminal, very few of Bryan's passengers were already there, but Bryan still wanted to finish his work early. Get in quickly, please. A Splendid agent is trying to make a splendid early mark here. The passengers weren't ready to go, but at the same time, they couldn't be bothered to argue with such a cocky engine like Bryan. So the passengers got on board, and Bryan set it off with everyone present and accounted for. Everyone except his guard. But all Bryan cared about was being early, so he pressed on without his guard. Further down the line, there was a red signal, and although Bryan planned to ignore it, there was a reason why it was red. Because Joe was coming down from the mountain branch with a train of broken antiques. And when Joe saw Bryan rushing straight towards him, he slammed on his brakes so hard that his train banged into him. Broken bits and bobs flew into the air and landed everywhere. Bryan ignored everything that just happened and kept going. Bother that, Bryan! At Religion Station, Morris had just arrived and was waiting for Bryan's guaranteed connection. And when Bryan arrived, he was very early indeed. Morning, Morris! Isn't my paint the most splendid sight of all? Bryan, we both know that you're not supposed to be here this early. I don't care. I'm here now, and looking spick and span, I trust. Well, you're looking very shiny today, for sure, but what? I'm just not so keen on the scratch. Scratch? What scratch? Right there, on your boiler. Morris was right. There was a scratch on his boiler, and it was a big one too. That's what happens when you act carelessly, Bryan. It must have been from one of those falling bits of antique. Well, if that's the case, I'm not doing any more passenger work today. And with a powerful jerk, Bryan uncoupled himself from his coaches and raced off, leaving his passengers stranded at Religion Station. When he got back to Zilla, he was very embarrassed when people started to see his scratched paintwork, but at the same time, he knew he really didn't have anywhere to hide. That's when he had an idea. When Bryan got to the shunting yard, he saw a loaded coal train that needed to go to Trixton Junction, so that's the train he snuck out. But he didn't realize that the train was very heavy, and would be very tough to take up and over hills. And I'm sorry to say that he had also forgotten about the routes to Trixton Junction. About 3 miles before Trixton comes a steep gradient known as Up High Hill, which has a sharp bend right after it, which can be a very big nuisance for engines with heavy loads. But Bryan was too self-centered to remember. He just strained up the hill until he reached the top. Then it happened. Hey, what the? Am I hallucinating or am I speeding up? Oh, no! Help! Bryan's driver applied the brakes, but the train was too heavy to take control of. Bryan hoped for the very best, but no matter how hard he hoped, disaster still struck. Mr. Grant soon arrived on board Imogen, who brought some workmen and a crane to help clean up the mess. Trucks and spilt coal laid all over the place. And what about Bryan, you might ask? Well, instead of him having 1 scratch on his paintwork, he now had 10 big scratches all over his boiler. Bryan did not feel like a splendid engine anymore. Well, Bryan, you've just wasted an urgent shipment that wasn't yours to take. But I hope you understand now that just because you are proud of something doesn't mean you can act carelessly or do whatever you want. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Once you're repaired, you will take care of the Goldshine shunting yard while Imogen and Joe have the next 2 weeks off. But, sir, who will take care of my passenger duties while I'm gone? But I must stop here, unfortunately. Otherwise I'll spoil the next story.